workshop was old and dusty. There was a desk with pricings for different objects. He wiped off the desk that had collected. Obviously, I can't read. He wiped off the dust that had collected on the desk and found several sticky notes and a black screen that stood up from the surface. He found a port for the mini-mod and plugged a wire in. The screen turned on instantly. A screen that showed an arrow and the word Artemis appeared, then shifted into another screen with 3 different options. The first one being diary, the next being emails, and the last being to open a door, but he had to have a passcode to open it. He clicked the diary and saw dates lining all the way back to a couple days after the fight. Couldn't bring himself to open anything though. He didn't want to read it. He still wanted to keep his promise to his dad, not wanting to come back to see him, and opening a diary entry would mean that he wanted to find him. This is, like, extremely important to, like, the psychology of the character. Because this is, like, a display of, like, cognitive dissonance. And it's an also affirmation, right? Like, you would assume, like, the cognitive dissonance is you would assume that he would want to save his father, right? But knowing how he reacted to everything and the last fallout, it seems more of a, he is still in kind of a spite mode. So my guess would be there is going to be at some point in time, right? Especially maybe if he, like, opens these diaries and his dad talks about him, that it will be like a kind of change of heart, if you will. So that would be like my prediction for his type of character arc, is like by the end of this he wants to save his dad, despite the fact that he's like at a point where he's just frustrated with him, especially after seeing like the development of IC. Being like, did he go against my back and just excuse me, did he just like do it? Because like he had the opportunity to contact me and he never did, because that's what I assume as well, is that there would be like multiple points of contact between them that were ignored either on both sides or one side or the other, right? So something like this could open an entire can of worms about like his father's feelings, and he's already kind of at a point where he's coming to cope with those feelings. So this is like the entire point of like reiterating his character, right? And as well as a way it also facilitates us not obtaining information that we could obtain right now for like a logical and character driven reason, right? Otherwise everything would just basically be spoiled. He then clicked on email. There were hundreds of them, all about fixing things, lights being off or robots going haywire. Arthur couldn't believe his dad did so much, and apparently he wasn't just an electrical engineer on the moon, he was also a scientist, going out on the surface and looking for life or abnormalities. It was honestly surprising to Arthur, the amount he did. Well, he went downhill, his father only went uphill, which only fueled the fire of hatred. Exactly. It's like he has this like eternal resentment for his dad for like leaving him behind. Right? And because of how he is, he like kind of has a consideration for his father's point of view, right? But it's still like he feels betrayed. And there's gonna have to be like a come to Jesus or like full of heart moment where it's like that hatred and that dissonance will be shifted by reality. of, you know, something like seeing his dad, and it's like he can no longer feel these things, and it's like the reason that he's felt this way is because he's been away so long, right? And then it just creates that cascade that, you know, enables him to change. Or he never does, and he just finds his dad and says, fuck you, and kills him, because who the fuck knows? You know? It is what it is. You never fucking know. That would be fucking crazy, though. And it's, like, all because of the infection, right? So it's like he finds his dad alive, and his dad is, like, resisting the infection, and it's, like, because of the infection and everything, he just has this, like, mindset towards it, like, amplified to the point that it's, like, he just, like, basically executes his dad, even though his dad is what's stopping the virus. Holy shit, I'm gonna get, like, so many plot lines to go down so many holes of being, like, reasoning for him to shoot his dad. I don't think that's what's gonna happen, but it's, like, the potential for the possibility for it to be there, especially if it's a manipulation by either IC or the virus. Arthur found a chair and sat down to think about all that's happened. So, okay, so Axon Corp wanted me to find Victor. But if the base is abandoned, they must have known something was wrong. Maybe they didn't, and something prevented the people from communicating. Which now means that if I need help, there's no way for me to get help. Not that I would get help anyways. Again, another point of the character is he's kind of a selfish dick. Right? And he's been, like lonerized, but it's, like, all, again, the incident of, like, the trigger for it is, like, the death of his mom, right? Because his mom was, like, his inspiration and stuff, so it's, like, losing her, and then getting close to his dad and having his dad abandon him. It's like reopening old scars, right? And he's the kind of person like likes to do stuff himself and like be above it, so he's like, oh, I'm better than this, right? Even where he was like, oh, when his dad left, he was like, oh, well, I don't need you to build the IC, right? I'll do it on my own. And then he utterly failed. It is what it is. Then Arthur remembered the IC code in the robot. The only way that could have been there is if Victor took the code with him. To be like some sort of code that was mutual to them. And it's like a coincidence in some way, so it gives Arthur the knowledge that he wouldn't have before because of the connection to his father, right? And this is like a good way to progress the plot without having, like, some sort of puzzle or third-party interference, right? And again, it's like the state of mind of the character is like a fog, so it's understandable why there are certain things that are outside of his memory, you know, outside, like, out of mind, out of sight, out of mind, right? As soon as he said that, he remembered the hard drive that Victor had when he yelled out to him. Now he was remembering clearly. He saw the letters IC sketched into it. Because, yeah, he trusted his dad enough to not take IC with him and just develop it on the moon. But I don't know, I feel like that's a selfish kind of thing to be like that, right? It should be more like, I don't know, I feel like Arthur's just kind of a dick. I mean, Victor might also be a dick, but, like, he's not handling this very well, I think. And that just shows the kind of person he is, because obviously, like, the last, like, 10 years or whatever have been a fucking disaster for him. And that goes to show that, like, he's relied on other people and needed crutches, but he's always thought of himself at the top. And now that he realizes in the evidence of reality that he's not at the top, he's in a place where he needs to be at the top. Or he's fucked. Ugh, I'm so stupid. Of course he brought IC with him to the moon base. But if he did that, where's the drive? And with that thought, he had a new mission. Find the drive. And if he couldn't bring his father, he would complete the goal of bringing in something his father made, and he could finally release the project that he had worked on and forget about it for good. If it's still learning. If it was self-improving, could it still be observing and learning? Even after all this time. He figured that if Victor had brought IC to Artemis, then he had to have some info on where it's placed. But Arthur knew that the only way he could find that out, if that is true, was through the diaries of his father. This isn't because I'm looking for him, thought Arthur. It's just to find the IC. It's like, God, he's so fucking stubborn, dude. It's your dad. Get the fuck over it, dude. I'm sorry. I know this is his character, but like, it's your dad, bro. Same with the way that you left. Like, you didn't need to leave that way. Right? Like, this didn't need to be a betrayal. I feel like Arthur made this a betrayal. And he kind of also betrayed his dad in a way, right? Like, his dad was looking forward to going to the moon with him. So when I look at this, I'm like, Arthur's the real dick here. With that, he turned back to the screen and clicked on diary. He then clicked the dots and laughed. They really do make a mandatory diary for everyone, huh? Stardate 2277, Captain speaking. True. I mean, you kind of need a log, right? And it's like the thing with, like, military reports where it's like they have, like, daily, like, military reports where they have to, like, you know, do their thing, or, like, mission reports, right? Arthur clicked the diary and took a deep breath. He looked through many entries, trying to find anything to do with IC, and finally he found one. It was labeled the first of its kind, with the date being May 5th, 1979, the day. Today is the day that IC joins Artemis. After a lot of pushback from the Titans, I finally convinced them that IC is good. At first, it was about security. Then it was about observing. Then it was about the well-being of Artemis. But I pushed back and pushed back. Legacy of IC continues, and hopefully Arthur sees it someday. Making the original decision on even introducing IC to the Titans was tough. I mean, we had worked on it together as father and son, but he made his choice and kept to stay on Earth. This is like, you just say stay on Earth, right? So you can just like, it's his choice to stay on Earth. It's his choice. I just feel like that it was his choice and kept to stay on Earth. Like, the kept or the stay, like there's something about this that's just, you know. And again, I don't point out grammatical things very often because I don't notice them, but this is something that's like, this sentence just feels fucking weird. I don't think you need that. Unless it's like for instance, a way specifically that the father talks. Like you're using that as a character import point for like phonetics for a character. I need to make mine and make something on the moon. And that was all the entry had said. The only information that was given was it was with the Titans. And even that was useless, as he had no idea who or what that is. Arthur decided to look around the room to at least find something about IC. But really, it looked like everything was moved. There were empty spots surrounded by dust that had looked as if there was something there. But obviously not anymore. He found a door, but it looked misplaced, as if it wasn't meant to be there. The door itself didn't match the dullness of the room. Instead of the gray and brown of the walls in the workshop, the door has an almost dull blackness to it. There was a module on the wall right next to the door. Arthur, who was very curious about the randomness of the door, tried to open it with his mini-mod. At first, the door didn't open. Arthur thought it was broken, and as a thorn would, looked at his mini-mod to try and fix it when he saw something different pop up. The door needed a code to get in. His immediate thought was 0570, partly because it was the only code he needed to remember to enter a room or building, partly because it was Victor, who was very sentimental about things. But it couldn't be 0570. Victor had become a new man on the moon and probably forgot about the code and chose something totally different. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, that's the same as on my carry luggage. What I see was in the diaries. Code to the room shouldn't be far away, thought Arthur. And he went back to the desk and looked through the dust-covered notes. Arthur found a notepad with various notes and thoughts in it and dusted it off. Most of the pages were filled with repairs and things needed to be repaired. The only thing off was the later dates. At first, the notes seemed very organized and precise, with a few slips here and there. But the farther you went through it, the more sloppy the notes became. Is that like an indication of a reduction in intelligence and like the virus, or is that like a laziness over the simple fact that it is more time passes and people just kind of zone out on shit, give up on shit, and it becomes routine, and it just becomes like, it is what it is. It was a good day today. Thanks, log. Bye. Right? The last page of the notepad had the same line written again and again. Handwriting looked nothing like the other pages. Almost if he had written it in a rush, which was very different from Victor's usual self. So this would be like, again, an indication that this is a point in time where something fucking went wrong. Canal was right. It always was. Oh, come on. What is the canal? I swear I'm so confused. First it's IC, then the Titans, now it's the canal. What happened here? Arthur spoke aloud. He had just found a lot of problems and only had a solution to one of them. Even though he didn't find what he was looking for in the notepad, he didn't give up. Arthur took all the sticky notes on the desk and dusted each one of them off. Finally, he had found what he was looking for. On a light green sticky note read the code for the door, but the code wasn't what he was expecting. Office room code 0570. Arthur didn't expect his father to remember the code, and to use it for an office was not far off the list. He headed back to the mysterious door and plugged in the mini-pod and typed in the code. Surely enough, the door opened and revealed what was inside. What was in the room horrified him. I like, because I mentioned earlier about going through the notes and trying to, find a puzzle or something, and it's like you did both of them, right? You had the thought that it was something, but he never even attempted to do it because it was so outrageous. And this is like a character pivotal moment for changing, because it's like realizing that maybe his dad did care. So it's like, this is a point on the graph and an event in a line of multiple events that could eventually lead to his change of opinion, let's say. Audio tape 01-13-77. Hello, this is Victor Thorne, speaking on the static trial of the canal. So far, the team has found the first ever recorded living organism on the moon. But it wasn't like what we thought it would be. It's a whole system of static growing in a cave. We haven't been able to get close to it, as being within static feet. Oh, static is like shh, like the thing cutting out. I'm retarded. The whole system of my mic doesn't pick up those sounds very well. Growing in a cave. We haven't been able to get close to it, as being within feet of the canal gives multiple symptoms, those being fatigue, massive headaches, and Natalia was the first person to find it and is in getting medical treatment, as she's been showing the symptoms previously recorded. And I love this, because this is exactly the kind of shit I was going to do it, I actually am doing. It's not at the beginning anymore, but it was going to be at the beginning in the first chapter of my Final Fantasy book, where it's it's basically the idea of Final Fantasy X-2 opening, where it's Yuna finds the sphere of Shuyin, and she thinks that it's Titus, and it's just like small static cuts of different things, and being like, you know, is it you, and like Shuyin and Lin and stuff like that, and she's like thinking of like Titus, right? And in mine, it's like, it's going into the 100-year quest, but it's like, there's like 5 different scenes because like the orb that was used to record it is like damaged. So you get like a little bit of banter, a little bit of puzzles, a little bit of battle, and then like the final battle and everyone's just fucking wiped the shit out. And then it's like they defeat the Emerald Weapon, and then it's like the 5 survivors of like 100 go down and they like record the whole thing of basically the Citadel underneath, and they find the Dragon's Cavern, and they awake Fafnir, and then Fafnir breaks out of it and basically kills everyone, and then Torg is the only survivor, but he gets stabbed and killed by the Monarch, who is imposing to be Husai. So I love the idea of like eliminating these like important sections just to give like a thing. Again, it's one of those cliches, but people love doing it, and I love it. Because it's important. It's an important way to mute out certain information, right? And it works, and it's understandable in this state, right? Last trial. Like, another example I think of is like the message at the beginning of Star Wars, right? The repeated loop of, I need your help, Obi-Wan, from Leia. But it doesn't say the entire message until they actually figure it out. So it gives the emphasis of, hey, we have to do something, we have to find someone, here's a name, but it doesn't give you the entire thing until you find that. And it's like a plot, you know, emphasis point, right? For, like, gathering information. In the last trial, we tried using audio equipment to see if it produced any sound, but it didn't give anything useful. In this trial, we are seeing how it reacts when in static. We'll be shooting a rock from a safe distance towards it, and if the canal reacts, we will know if it's or peaceful. I will record my findings on the next tape. Again, this is Victor Thorne, and scientist. Fuck yeah. No, that was so good. I love that, especially with that being the ending of the chapter. I love it. And it gives, like, so many, like, extra, like, reference vibes and shit like that, right? It just builds itself in the story. Because you can, like, have these points of reference. And some people will say it's bad, but I say it's good. Right? I say it's depth of field for your ability to, you know what parts of the story are important. And how telling the story is important. And you're the one telling the story, so you're the one who should know what's important. Right? And then it's like, if they don't grasp the overall identity of the story, that's not your problem, it's the author, right? But no, I enjoyed this. This was good. And especially with, like, how, like, Arthur is, like, interacting with his dad and stuff like that. His little emotional connection to it. I was still putting that ahead of everything, even though he's, like, a scientist. And it's, like, it's how affected he is by it, right? And then you can see that clearly, like, he is way more affected by it than his dad, right? So it's like, he clearly made the wrong decision in a way. And then introducing that, like, extra little piece that I kind of already knew about it, but, like, the organism or whatever, and the virus that's taking over and all of that, right? So we're getting more tiddly tidbits of what we need on the inside of it, with a little bit of scoop diddly oops, with a little bit of, hey, I don't know what's in there, right? It is what it is, right? Anyways,